Located in the outskirts in one of China's biggest cities lies the 5.4-kilometer-long Shanghai International Circuit. The circuit is a landmark for motorsport all through Eastern Asia and even holds a place in the so-called pinnacle of motorsport. Constructed in 2004, the circuit made its Formula One debut the same year. The circuit has since hosted a Formula One Grand Prix every year for another 15 years, right until the cancellation of the mid-April race when Formula One management deemed the COVID-19 situation too severe to host a Grand Prix. The season would start up again in June with a completely altered calendar, leaving Shanghai on the shelf until perhaps 2021. The circuit was purpose-built to host a Formula One Grand Prix, giving the track a Grade 1 license from the FIA, the sanctioning body of Formula One. The track was designed by Hermann Tilke, an architect and engineer who is credited to having brought F1 tracks up to date. Tilke had designed the tracks Sepang in Malaysia and Sakhir in Bahrain, which were introduced to Formula One in the years 1999 and 2004 respectively. What Shanghai, Sepang, and Sakhir all have in common is that the facilities of the circuits were almost futuristic. All these circuits have detailed nation-themed aesthetics associated to the tracks. The paddock at the Shanghai International Circuit is built to look like the Yuyuan Gardens, a historic landmark on the Puxi side of the Shanghai city. Another key detail of the Shanghai circuits is that the track layout is supposed to reflect the Chinese character Shang. Shang means above or ascend. You'll find that character in the name Shanghai, which will translate to above sea, a name adopted as the significance of Shanghai as a port increased during its concession phase in the post-Opium War period of China. The circuit attracted 260,000 people on its opening day and can seat 200,000 people, while recent capacity has dropped off as only 150,000 people will attend the race. The circuit is thoroughly enjoyed by drivers on the other hand. The lap starts out between the pit lane and the grandstand as a blast into Turn 1. Turn 1 is along a winding right-hand corner where drivers will have to fight the car under braking. It is then followed by a left-hand hairpin that throws the drivers onto a straight. Turns 7 and 8 are driver favorites as they can take them with a lot of speed, delivering up to 4 lateral Gs on the driver's neck. The lap then proceeds to Turn 12 and 13, a long and winding right-hand corner where drivers will have to fight their car under acceleration this time. The lap then proceeds to what was at the time the longest straight in Formula One, a 1.2-kilometer run into Turn 14, which is a hairpin and a place for excitement. Here the track has palm tree-like covers, which are reminiscent of those at Sepang. The lap then completes with a quick flick to the left and back onto the straight to complete another lap. When one sees the track for the first time, the one thing that will stand out to them is the massive grandstand complex. This complex can seat over 30,000 people, and it should be noted that almost no expense was saved in the construction of the circuit. The estimated price tag of the project was, according to the Beijing Review, 265 billion yuan, or at the time 393 million US dollars. The Formula One website places the project at 450 million US dollars, but in any case, this was a very expensive project. The circuit reflects a shift in Chinese perspective that started in the mid-1980s and has moved well into the 2000s. This period marked a time of extensive growth for China. China grew massively in economic power during Deng Xiaoping's governing. The 2000s was an exciting time for China in the international lens. In 2004, China adds its name to Formula One history. In 2008, China hosts their first ever Summer Olympic Games in Beijing. In 2010, China hosts the World Expo. The Olympic Park in Beijing has become an element of the city's landmarks. Unlike the Olympic Park, however, the Expo Park in Shanghai is mostly abandoned, bringing the effectiveness of such events into question. The International Olympic Committee are very stringent on the frequency of hosting the Olympics and signifying that hosting an annual event that attracts a significant portion of the world's attention is a much more effective approach to bringing a country to the spotlight. What the three aforementioned events had in common when China hosted them was massive scale. China is known for handling projects on a much larger scale than most. The size of the World Expo, the Olympic Park, almost justify the size of the Shanghai circuit, and in many ways the Expo, the Olympic Park, and the circuits are monuments to what China can achieve within the span of a decade. This behavior is still in line with China's communistic ideals though. While this does juxtapose the China that people knew from the 1980s and even the 1990s, it was during this time that China underwent significant change after the death of Mao Zedong. China underwent a transition period between 1976 and 1989, which led to economic reforms and opened China up to the international world for trade. Coming to international markets aided China enormously in their growth. And to reflect that success, expansive projects get carried out to showcase them to the world. Now, while the Shanghai Circuit does not have the same historical significance as Suzuka in Japan or the glamour of Monte Carlo in Monaco, the circuit stands on its own. The track, in its own regard, should be appreciated as a monument to Shanghai's growth in becoming one of China's most important cities. The lens could even be adjusted to symbolize a change in the larger Chinese perspective, contrasting how little information came out prior to the 2000s to Shanghai inviting one of the world's largest media circuses to put their name on the map.